Trump's Grand Ballroom. The controversy over preserving the White House. In the heart of Washington, D.C., amid the quiet gardens of the White House, the roar of heavy machinery echoes through the air. Walls that have stood for more than a century are crumbling into piles of debris. The East Wing, a symbol of history and tradition, is being demolished to make way for something entirely new. A massive ballroom proposed by former U.S. President Donald Trump. What seems like a simple renovation has ignited one of the fiercest debates over the preservation of the White House in decades. 1. Trump's dream of grandeur. On October 20, Donald Trump announced a project that stunned both supporters and critics. The White House will soon have a brand new, magnificent, and larger ballroom, he declared. The new structure, planned for the East Wing, will cover more than 8,300 square meters, accommodating up to 1,000 guests. Trump said it will host state dinners, international galas, and grand ceremonies, so that we'll no longer have to welcome guests under outdoor tents. As he put it, when it rains or snows, it's a disaster. Satellite images later revealed the reality. The entire East Wing had been flattened. Within days, the demolition was complete, a speed that stunned observers. For Trump, the project is not just about functionality. It's about power, image, and legacy. 2. Outrage. From historians and preservationists, alongside the sound of bulldozers, came a wave of outrage. Architectural historians, preservation groups, and cultural scholars accused Trump of destroying a national landmark. Martha Joint Kumar, political scientist at Towson University, warned, "They are wrecking the structure, and these changes cannot be undone. They are destroying history forever." The National Trust for Historic Preservation, NTHP, immediately filed a protest, arguing that the project must be reviewed by the National Capital Planning Commission and the Commission of Fine Arts, two bodies that oversee all construction within the White House grounds. Carol Quillen, NTHP president, explained, "The White House's architecture was designed for perfect balance, a central building with two smaller, symmetrical wings. But an 8,300 square meter ballroom will overwhelm and distort that classical harmony." The White House itself measures about 5,100 square meters, meaning Trump's ballroom would be larger than the main building itself, an unprecedented transformation in over 2 centuries of history. 3. The erasure of the East Wing. The East Wing was originally built in 1902 under President Theodore Roosevelt. It served as the office of the First Lady, the symbolic counterpart to the President's West Wing. During World War II, it was expanded to conceal the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, a secret underground bunker. Now, that entire section is gone. The graceful white facade once seen in countless historic photographs no longer exists. Many historians describe it as an architectural erasure in the heart of Washington. Edward Lengel, former chief historian of the White House Historical Association, said, "The demolition of the East Wing suggests the ballroom will be extremely close to the main White House, perhaps nearly connected. That means the classical layout will be permanently altered." 4. Accusations of legal violations. According to the National Historic Preservation Act, any federal construction or demolition that affects a historic site must undergo formal review. In this case, Trump's administration bypassed that process entirely. Sarah C. Bronin, professor of law at George Washington University, stated, "The Trump administration's decision is exactly the kind of action the law was designed to prevent. A president cannot unilaterally erase a national heritage site. Yet, most federal agencies were shut down at the time due to the government closure, leaving oversight paralyzed, a legal vacuum that Trump seemed to exploit to move forward." 5. The White House response. Facing mounting criticism, Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt dismissed the backlash. "This is manufactured outrage. Nearly every president who has lived in the White House has modernized and renovated it in their own way." Trump himself insisted during a press briefing, "To meet modern standards, We had to demolish the existing structure, but some parts will be preserved. I believe we've been more transparent than anyone else. He revealed the estimated cost to be $300 and million, about $100 and million higher than earlier figures, claiming the entire budget was covered by private donors and that not a single taxpayer dollar will be spent. However, the administration has not released a full list of donors, raising suspicions of conflicts of interest and lack of transparency. 6. A growing storm of opposition. The American Institute of Architects had already urged the White House to ensure transparency in selecting the design team and to respect the integrity of a national monument. It is due arc. For any way, the Society of Architectural Historians also expressed deep concern, calling for construction to pause until a full review was completed. But on the ground, the work continues. Heavy machinery operates day and night. Secret Service agents guard the perimeter, blocking journalists and civilians from getting close. Meanwhile, employees at the U.S. Treasury Department across the street were instructed not to photograph the site. Online, millions of comments divided the public. Some say Trump is modernizing history, giving the White House a long-needed upgrade. Others insist he's defacing America's national memory for vanity. 7. From preservation to politics. This isn't Trump's first dramatic redesign. Since taking office, he has redecorated the Oval Office with gold-plated statues and historic portraits, replaced the lawn in the Rose Garden to make it easier to walk in heels, installed massive American flags outside the residence as symbols of personal pride. For Trump, architecture is not just function, it's a stage for power and personality. The ballroom continues that pattern, a monument to opulence, dominance, and individuality. But critics ask, can one person, even a president, redefine the meaning of a nation's most sacred symbol? 8. Symbolism and the clash of values. The White House is not merely a residence or an office. It is the living emblem of American democracy, a tangible piece of history that connects generations. When Trump decided to reshape it according to his taste, the debate became about more than just walls and marble. It became a confrontation over the limits of presidential power. How much of a nation's heritage can be rewritten to fit one man's vision? For many Americans, the answer is clear. No individual, not even the president, has the right to rebuild history in their own image. 9. The hidden message behind the ballroom. From a media perspective, Trump's ballroom is more than architecture. It's symbolic theater. It embodies the philosophy that has defined his career. If it's not big enough, make it bigger. If it's not beautiful enough, make it shine. He understands the power of spectacle. Imagine a grand state dinner under a crystal-lit dome, world leaders applauding beneath chandeliers, cameras flashing all inside a space he designed. The message is unmistakable. Trump's vision dominates the nation's most iconic address. 10. Between legacy and ego. As the dust settles over the ruins of the East Wing, America is left with a haunting question. Can national heritage survive personal ambition? Trump's ballroom, whether finished or not, has already become a symbol of the eternal struggle between preservation and power, memory and modernity, history and ego. A building can be constructed in months, but the trust in a nation's historical identity, once broken, may never be rebuilt. Trump's ballroom, a legacy or a betrayal? A magnificent hall or a crack in America's collective memory?